look what I got here. Another fan. Must be the fan man. This one was given to me in a partial do-it-yourselfer state. And it got this far, and the person decided, well, it's too much for me. So they decided to hand it over to me and see what I could figure out on it. It, of course, has no power. I'll show that to you right here. I got my power strip here. I got power going to it. I got some tape on here. And we got our buttons here to turn it on. And nothing happens. So that's it for that. And if you watch the other fan video that I just did, it turned out to be the thermal fuse, whatever you want to call it. And this one has the same type of fuse. If I can get this up here and show you without the camera freaking out, you can see it's that white thing right there. That's the same kind of fuse right there. And I did end up, I worked it out from underneath a string that was holding it down because I wanted to get the numbers, and I wanted to check it and see if that was the problem. And yes, that is the problem. So we're going to go ahead and replace that. But got to be careful digging around in there because the windings for the motor are right underneath there, and you don't want to scratch off the coating to the windings on there. And the numbers on this one here is I got it here on my phone. It's 130C. I'll put the picture up there so you can see it. It's 130C, 016D, whatever that means, and there's a V3 on there, whatever that means. I tried to look up the other numbers and everything, and I couldn't find anything on them. I was thinking the V3 was like a 3 amp. So I'm like, okay. But I wanted to check and see how many amps this thing drew before I ordered it. So I connected it up, and I want to show you how I did that, just to kind of determine what the current was. But so I got this thing out, and I hooked some leads up to it. It's covered with some white stuff to protect the wires from shorting out on anything. It's like material, flame-proof excuse me, material. So let me get this connected up here, and we can I can show you how I went through and checked for the current. Let me get some different glasses on here so I can see what's going on. I already dug, you can see I put some little holes in the end so I can get my leads in there and wrap them around the wire. Get this other one in here. So, okay, we got both of them on there. And the way I determined that it was this was I just put a meter across it and nothing happened. So that just shows me that it's open. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. So if we were to connect these together, this fan would start moving, and I can show you that right here. If I got those on there right, let me make sure that's off. Plug it in. Let me put it on 1. I'll just press the 1. I think that should be low. So we should see that go when I touch these two together. Well, you can see it moving slowly. It's pretty sticky. It needs to be cleaned and some new oil put on there. There we go. So it does work if we short this piece out. So we get a new one put in there and it'll be fine. But yeah, I guess I'll have to oil that up a little bit. So it must have been out of commission for a while. I mean, I've had it for a little bit, so it's been sitting for a while, so yeah. Alright, so I'm going to get my meter. I'm going to set my meter on amps. It doesn't like that when I do that. Put it on, I'm going to put it on milliamps because I already know what it is. I'm just going to put it on milliamps. But if I didn't, the first time I did this I didn't know, so I put it on 10 amps and then read it, which we could do now, I guess. I mean, why not? So we'll connect one side there. And let me, got two different kinds of glasses here. So if you watch that, and I'm going to touch this on here, you watch the meter, and that's going to show us the current. Let's put that on, it's on DC right now, so let's switch that over to AC. Okay, so now I have it on AC, and you probably can't see that. Maybe you can. But I have it on AC current. Alright, so let's touch this on here. So that's on low and it reads 0.262. So we want to know what it is on high because that's going to draw the most current. So I put it on high. I hit number 3. So now this should go up even higher. So 0.314. So that's what we have. That's on 3. For shits and giggles, let's just see what it is on 2. So there's on 2. I want to get it off. I'm too noisy over there. 0.29, something like that. So, and this is with no fan blade on it. I think I tried it with the fan blade on it, and it was even a little higher. Plus, when it gets all the plastic around the motor and everything, the heat and everything is going to make it rise up a little bit more. but that's how I kind of determined on which amperage thermal fuse to put in there, because I didn't understand the numbers that are on there. I was guessing it's 3, so I went and bought 3 amp thermal fuse at 130 C, of course. So all we have to do is take one of these and replace that, and this thing should be back in service. It's going to be a little bit to get to this though, so because we got to take this all apart, take these 4 screws out, and then pull this whole thing apart to desolder this one that's in there, and then solder this one back up in there and put it all back together, and then we should be good. So that's what we're going to do with this, and then we can give it back to who it belongs to. Alright, so I'm going to get situated here and get this thing tore apart. Before I go too far, jump in here real quick. Before I go too far, I put this the fan blade on here, and I just want to start this up and read the current reading on here, just in case you don't believe me that it's going to be more. I mean, I ain't saying you're not believing me, but you know. But it was on high, it was 0.3 something, and when I did this before, it was 0.45 or something like that. And because, like I said, all the plastic covering the motor and everything, the current I figured was going to double if it ran for a long time and started heating up, or is in a warm environment. I figured it was going to even go up more. And when this collects dirt and covers up all the holes, it's going to the current's going to go up even more, because it's going to get hotter, and that's why this thing blows, because it gets hot and goes beyond the 130 so I got it all set. Watch the meter, and I'm going to turn it on low first. And now this time on low it reads 0.38. So before it read 0.2 something. Here's medium. Medium is on at 0.415. So you're seeing the difference already just with the fan blade on. And now let's put it on high. On high, it's reading 0.44, something like that. So that makes a difference. And then, like I said, you start covering this stuff up and it starts to get warm, it's going to go up even more. So because it's not being able to breathe and stuff like that. So, but yeah, there we go. I just wanted to make sure you believe me, and make sure you know, show you that I wasn't feeding you a line of crap. Alright, let's get back to business here. Alright, look at this. Got it apart a little bit. The grease in here is definitely dry, so that's why it's sticking. So we will definitely need to take some isopropyl alcohol and clean up the shaft, clean up the bearing in here, and in this one here. This one here has this pin in there. We'd have to pull this pin out to get this all the way out. But we might be able to clean it without taking that all the way out, and then putting some new drops of oil in there. And like any motor, you can see, hopefully, yeah, you can see those white little specks in there, that's the material that soaks up the oil for keeping the shaft lubed. So we'll put some oil in those things, not too much because it'll drain all out and all over everything, but they look pretty dry, so it definitely needs to be oiled. Looks like they got little fans on both sides to help keep the air circulating too. That's what I'm guessing, but you can see now that we got access to our thermal fuse here. So like on our other fan assembly, we have to loosen up all this and find out where our thermal fuse here is attached, and desolder it, solder it back together, put all this back the way it was, make sure it clears everything. So I want to zoom in just a little bit on this. Oops, let me get out of here farther. You can see I had to very carefully unwrap this string. I'm going to have to tie that back on there, of course, to hold all this. But each one of these wires has a winding wire soldered to it, so we have to be very careful not to break those wires off there because they are very small. And these two right here, you can actually see this wire right here is the one that's soldered to one side of our thermal fuse, and then our other thermal side of the fuse is connected here. So we just have to desolder here and here, solder the new one on there, and make sure we add this wire onto it also. Alright, so I got this soldered back together with the new one on there. And I made sure to solder it back the same way that it was. Put the wire from the winding back on the same one on the side of the capacitor. I just wrapped it on there, and you see I used the heat protective sheathing there from the old one. That one must have came with it glued in there because it was down inside the glue, stuck in the glue there, but I just ripped it off there. But so it should work for this one pretty good. So now I gotta put these back on to cover this stuff up, and then try to start winding this all back on there again, and figure out how to do the string. Alright, let me get at that. You might have seen that I put some glue on the string because I'm not an expert stringer, and they use the lacquer to hold the string tight on there, but I don't have that, and it's really hard to tie that in a knot, so I just use some Gorilla Glue, super glue type stuff, just to hold the string. Hopefully that holds it, so it's going to have to dry for a while, but in the meantime I'm going to zoom this out a little bit. Oops, back this way a little bit. And I got this here, this little alcohol wipe. This is only 70% alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, but I have these laying around, so I'm just going to use this to clean the shafts on here. It should work just fine to get that stickiness off there. Now I'm going to use just regular air tool oil, because that's what I have next to me, and I'm only using a little bit anyway, so it doesn't have to be nothing special, anything to oil this up. And I'm just dropping it on the white spots, which is the little cotton parts or whatever that is in there, and I'll put a little bit in on the bearing too. I got the towel down here just to clean up the mess. You can probably see I got it kind of shiny in there. This one's going to be a little bit tougher. See if I can get this all over the place. Nope, missed it. Missing it more than I'm getting it in there. So I guess I'll put a little extra in there and then wipe up the mess. But you'll be amazed that giving your fan a little extra oil after years of use, cleaning it out and giving it some fresh oil, that it'll last longer. So look at that baby spinning there now with that new oil on there. Spins real nice. Can't beat that. And this one will be the same way once I get it on this side. And get it all lined up, of course. Now we can't forget our little washer there. Alright, get that mess out of the way. Alright, I know this is still drying, but I'm going to attempt to put it together anyway and let it dry while it's together. Shouldn't stop us from using it. Now we got a mess. Now we got to see if we can put it back together right. Alright. Remember, this goes a certain way because this, you can't get this through this side because the wires of this stick into the hole. I don't know if you can kind of tell it, like for instance this one right there, you can see that it's into the hole pretty far, so that tells you that this side has to go first, because you can see that the wire is all clear of the hole. And then we have to make sure that we get the wires coming out the right way, which at the moment I have no clue. I forgot. Put this in there. Line up our screw holes. Our screw holes have little, there's actually, if you look, you can see the hole stands out, stands proud right there, so it snaps right in there, so you can't misalign it. And I know this has to go, I would think it goes the same way like this, but I don't know if the wires were sticking out of there. Just like that. That looks about right. we have that side there. Of course, I forgot the little washer on there, so I was too worried about getting this on there the right way. So I'm going to put this little washer on there first. That makes it so when we tighten the screws up, it isn't hard on this shaft. Too much slop on that shaft. Tell you what, hold on 1 second, I'll be right back. Alright, my brain failed me. I had to check something out and my brain failed me. I actually put this cover on wrong because it looked wrong to me. The wires being all cooped up down here. I had the wires coming right inside here, and that didn't look right, so I had to check the video and found out that they do come back out this way. Because I didn't work on this consecutively, it's been maybe a couple weeks since I started this video, and now I'm just getting around to finishing it. But yeah, this is the way that the wires go in there now. So the covers still go on the same, but I just had the wires. I had to turn this part here around the other way. And you can see I packed the wires in there to where the cover still goes on, so that's good. And now I'm just going to finish putting this together, and then we'll turn it on and hopefully it'll work. I had to pause on this a second because I figured out that I was putting this together wrong. The wiring I had coming over on this side over here, and I had to move it over on this side over here. I rewatched the video again of me taking it apart because that's how my brain has forgot about this. So it's going to go on this side. So because it needs to have the room to twist back and forth like this when it rotates, and on this room it'll have that, and apparently going on the other way it won't have as much because the wire is coming out of this side. It'll have more room to move back and forth than it will if the wire stretches around this way and goes down in here. But I did notice one thing when I took it back apart and I started putting it back together, and that was that this here is actually cracked. There's probably not going to be able to see this. I didn't catch it. I mean, at the last minute I caught it. Let's see. Yeah, you can see it right there. There's a crack that goes here, and it goes all the way over here like this. And it's about, this whole thing is about ready to break right off. I think that's about probably the best angle you can get to see that. So that's about ready to break right off, and like I said, I noticed that when I was screwing this back on. I didn't notice it before. So I'm going to attempt to probably just try to melt this back together with a soldering iron on both sides instead of ordering a new one, because it ain't worth it. It'll probably work with it just like this, but just to make it stronger, because that's where a screw goes. So just to make it a little stronger, I'm just going to melt that plastic back together to help hold it up, hold it together. So I'm going to do that, and then get back to getting this together. Hopefully this works out. Just gonna get this out of the way. You can, I mean, anybody, you can just use the soldering iron just to melt it back and forth over it, just by going like that. Push down a little deep so you can melt the plastic down deeper. I'm just following the crack just to kind of put the plastic over it to the edge. I don't know how long that'll last, but if you get it all, it'll probably last. If you do a pretty good job at it, but like I said, it definitely ain't worth ordering this part. It doesn't look like this broke over here, but I'm just going to touch it up anyway. Because you never know. I can't see it, but it might be cracked. You don't see this anyway because it's in the fan inside, so who cares how ugly it looks, right? I'm just trying to push plastic into the crack to help melt it together. So, yeah. Nothing special. This is some durable plastic too, I mean, because of this thing cranking back and forth. That's why they break, is because these things going back and forth, and if somebody holds the head of the motor or the cage while it's going back and forth, this thing will kind of tighten up and snap, or it could break a gear, and that could be how that broke. Who knows? Alright, good enough. Let me get back to putting this back together the right way, and then we'll get this tried out, get this video over with. Alright, so you can see not everything always goes smoothly. Zoom that out a little bit more. Not everything goes smoothly as you would like it to when you're doing something like this, trying to make a video or trying to repair something. You can see the problems that you can run into, and you know, if you're brain dead sometimes like me, you forget how to put it back together because it's been a long time in between. But that's why you take a video or take pictures. I like to take pictures of things so this way I don't forget, and luckily I had videos this time. I mean, it's not that hard, but you know, some people's brains are smarter or better than others. But anyway, enough of the jib jab. Let's give this thing a try. See if I ruined any of the wires as I was putting this thing together. We'll put our tape on there. And I did want to mention too, I forgot to mention at the beginning, I don't think I remember mentioning it watching the video, but there is a fuse inside here too. So one of the first things you could do is look at the fuse inside here. This says a 5 amp fuse. You slide this little door open and there's a little fuse inside there. So you want to check that one with a meter and make sure that one's good. Just a continuity test. We know it's good because we had this running before, but yeah, I wanted to mention that before. Some of them have those, some of them don't. So, so check that first and then go digging into everything else. But all right, this is on. Let's get this up. I'm going to turn it off right now. It's off. Got it plugged in. Plugged into my little power supply over here, and let's see if it goes poof because I caught a wire on something, or see if it spins. We'll start out with number 1. Hey, look at that. And it's even moving back and forth, so you can see it's important on where you route the wire. If it was routed on the other side over here, it wouldn't have enough play because the wire would be on the outside of this, and then when this thing come over here, it pushing on that wire and it just wouldn't make it. So you definitely have to make sure you wire it back the way that the factory did it. So that's one. There's two. And there's three. Alright, so we got ourselves a working fan again. And if we want to stop it from oscillating, we just pull this up or push it down, one of the two. Yeah, one of the two. There we go. Pull it all the way up and it stops it from oscillating. Push it down. Alright, beautiful. Sorry about the length of this video. It shouldn't have been even this long, but like I said, I get brain dead sometimes. Alright, we will catch you on the next one.